The first time I noticed something was wrong, nothing dramatic was happening. I was standing in my kitchen, barefoot on the cold tile, holding a mug I had already forgotten to drink from. The light outside was flat and gray, the kind that makes it hard to tell what time it is. Somewhere in the building, a door closed. Pipes hummed. Everything felt ordinary enough that there was no reason for alarm. But my chest felt tight in a way that didn't match the moment. Not panic, not fear, just a quiet pressure, like something was being held down gently but persistently. I remember shifting my weight from one foot to the other, waiting for the sensation to pass, assuming it would. It didn't. It stayed steady and unremarkable, like background noise I couldn't tune out. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe I hadn't slept well. Maybe I needed water. Maybe this was just what stillness felt like when you weren't running from it anymore. That last thought should have comforted me. It had before. But this time it didn't land. I leaned against the counter and stared at the steam rising from a mug. The air smelled faintly metallic, like rain that never arrived. I noticed my shoulders were tense. I let them drop, consciously relaxing, the way I had learned to do. I took a slow breath in through my nose and let it out through my mouth. The tightness stayed. I waited for a familiar sense of distance to come, the feeling that whatever discomfort was present was just something passing through awareness, not something happening to me. That it always worked. It had become almost automatic. But now, instead of creating space, the breath seemed to pull me closer to the sensation, like a spotlight tightening its beam. I felt exposed, though nothing was happening. The thought crossed my mind, uninvited and faint. This doesn't feel right. I immediately corrected it. Of course it felt right. Discomfort was part of the process. This was just another layer surfacing. I had told myself that story many times, and it had always been enough. Still, I didn't move. I stayed there longer than necessary, longer than comfortable, waiting for something to shift. The hum of the pipes grew louder in my awareness. The mug was too warm against my palm now. I should have put it down. Instead, I stood there, slightly dissociated from the moment, but unable to fully leave it. Later that day, the same feeling returned while I was sitting at my desk. Same pressure, same flatness. This time, it arrived without warning mid-thought, as if someone had quietly removed the floor beneath a sentence I was finishing in my head. I paused, hand hovering over the keyboard, and noticed how still everything was. No urgency, no narrative, just the sense that something was present that I didn't have a name for. I felt an urge to label it. Anxiety, resistance, old conditioning, anything that would make it manageable. I chose none of them and chose all of them at once, letting the explanations blur together until they lost their edges. That usually worked too. Ambiguity had become a kind of refuge. But even as I leaned back in my chair and stared at the ceiling, there was a subtle irritation underneath the calm. Not anger, not fear, more like disappointment without an object. I told myself I was being dramatic. In the evening, while brushing my teeth, I caught my reflection in the mirror and felt the same tightness again. It was almost predictable now, arriving in these quiet gaps between activities. My face looked normal. Tired, maybe, nothing out of place. I held my own gaze longer than usual, expecting some recognition, some sense of familiarity or distance or insight. Nothing came, just the same pressure, the same unresolved stillness. I turned off the light and stood in the dark bathroom for a moment, listening to my own breathing. I felt strangely embarrassed, as if I had been caught waiting for something that wasn't going to show up. The unease didn't crescendo. It didn't demand attention. It simply lingered, persistent and low-grade, like a question I couldn't quite hear. I went to bed with it still there, and for the first time in a long while, I couldn't tell myself convincingly that everything was exactly as it should be. There was a time when that belief had felt like the most solid thing in my life. It didn't arrive all at once. It grew slowly, almost invisibly, shaped by repetition and relief. At first, it was just a sense that I had stepped out of something. Old anxieties didn't grip as tightly. Thoughts lost their urgency. Emotional reactions softened at the edges. I remember walking through a crowded street one afternoon and feeling strangely untouched by it all. The noise passed through me. The faces blurred into motion. I felt spacious, unburdened, as if I were standing just behind myself, watching. That feeling stayed. Friends noticed a change before I named it. They said I seemed calmer, more grounded. I listened more. I reacted less. Conversations felt lighter, as if something heavy had been set down between sentences. Inside, I began to recognize a familiar internal refrain. You're not caught in this anymore. You can see it now. I didn't question where that voice came from. It felt reassuring, almost protective. The belief reinforced itself in small, everyday moments. When conflict arose and I didn't react the way I used to, I took that as evidence. When emotional pain appeared, and I could observe it without spiraling, that too became confirmation. Even boredom felt different. Instead of resisting it, I watched it, let it be there. That became another proof point. Over time, the language around it grew more confident. I stopped saying it feels like and started saying I know, not out loud at first, but internally, quietly. I knew I wasn't identified with my thoughts the way I once had been. I knew emotions were transient. I knew suffering came from misunderstanding. These weren't ideas I argued for. They were just there, woven into how I interpreted experience. Social spaces reinforced it further. Conversations with people who spoke the same language, who nodded knowingly when certain phrases were used. We shared stories that mirrored each other, moments of distance from old patterns, from old selves. There was comfort in that recognition, a subtle sense of belonging without attachment. I noticed that when doubt appeared, it didn't stay long. It was easy to dismiss. Doubt itself became something to observe from a distance, stripped of its authority. If confusion arose, I told myself it was just the mind recalibrating. That explanation worked often enough that I stopped testing it. I built routines around this understanding. Morning silence, evening reflection, pausing before reacting, letting sensations rise and fall without interference. Each repetition stabilized the belief further, not as a concept, but as a lived orientation. This is how things are seen now. This is what awareness feels like. I didn't feel superior, at least not consciously, but I did feel insulated, less vulnerable, less at the mercy of circumstances. When life went smoothly, it confirmed the belief. When it didn't, the belief adapted. Difficulty became another opportunity to practice distance, to demonstrate that nothing really touched the core of what I was. I remember sitting across from someone who was visibly struggling, their voice tight with frustration, and feeling a strange mixture of compassion and relief. Compassion for their pain. Relief that I wasn't inside it anymore. I didn't articulate that relief. I barely acknowledged it, but it was there, quietly reinforcing the narrative. Even moments of emptiness were absorbed into the framework. Emptiness wasn't a problem. It was spaciousness, silence, depth. The belief felt necessary, not in an urgent way, but in a stabilizing one. It organized experience. It gave context to discomfort. It explained why things felt lighter, flatter, quieter. And because it wasn't loud or dogmatic, because it didn't demand outward allegiance, it was hard to see it as a belief at all. It felt like clarity. It felt like something finally made sense. The first crack didn't announce itself. It showed up as a mild irritation that I couldn't quite justify, a restlessness during practices that used to settle me, a sense that I was going through motions that no longer landed the way they once had. At first, I assumed I was just distracted. I doubled down gently, returning to familiar routines, trusting that consistency would restore the sense of ease. It didn't. Instead, the quiet pressure returned more frequently, slipping into moments that had once felt resolved. Sitting in silence felt less like openness and more like waiting for something that wasn't defined. I noticed myself checking internally more often. Am I present right now? Am I identified? That question itself carried tension, though I tried not to linger on it. When discomfort arose, I labeled it quickly: resistance, old patterns, the mind grasping for control. Those explanations felt thinner now, like they were being applied out of habit rather than insight. One evening, during a conversation with someone close to me, I caught myself listening from a distance that felt wrong. They were talking about something that mattered to them, their words careful, slightly tentative. I nodded at the appropriate moments. I said the right things. But inside, there was a hollowness, a lack of engagement that I couldn't disguise from myself. I wasn't lost in thought. I wasn't overwhelmed. I was simply absent. Afterward, they asked if I was okay. The question landed harder than it should have. I felt defensive, though nothing accusatory had been said. I assured them I was fine, maybe just tired. The tightness in my chest returned that night, stronger than before. I lay in bed and replayed the interaction, noticing how quickly I had retreated into explanation, how little room I had left for uncertainty. Another crack appeared in the form of irritation with myself. Small things began to bother me in a way they hadn't in years. Delays, noise, interruptions. Each time, I watched the reaction rise, but the watching didn't dissolve the way it used to. It lingered, unresolved, leaving behind a faint residue of frustration. I told myself this was normal. Fluctuations happen. Awareness isn't static. Still, I found myself returning to old reassurances more urgently, reminding myself of what I knew, reasserting distance. The more I did that, the more mechanical it felt. There was a moment, sitting alone in a cafe, when I realized I was afraid of losing something I couldn't clearly name. That realization startled me. Fear hadn't been part of the narrative for a long time. I dismissed it quickly, attributing it to a bad day, to caffeine, to mood, but the dismissal didn't settle me. It only added another layer of tension. The discomfort returned in cycles. It would fade for a day or two, then reappear, slightly sharper, slightly harder to ignore. Each time, I responded the same way, with the same tools, and each time they seemed to work a little less. I began to notice a subtle rigidity in my internal dialogue, an insistence on maintaining a certain orientation, even as experience resisted it. One afternoon, while walking, I felt suddenly disoriented, not physically, but internally. The familiar sense of being just behind experience faltered. I felt exposed again, like in the kitchen that first morning. I stopped walking and stood there, heart beating faster. Tried to remember how I usually related to moments like this. Nothing came. The belief was still there, but it no longer wrapped itself around the experience seamlessly. There were gaps now, spaces where explanation didn't reach. I felt embarrassed by how much that unsettled me. The collapse wasn't breaking. It was more like a gradual thinning. Practices continued, but without the same confidence. I noticed myself sitting in silence and feeling unsure what I was doing there. Not lost, just uncertain. Earlier scenes replayed themselves differently now. The kitchen, the desk, the mirror. I saw how much effort had gone into maintaining a particular stance toward experience. That effort hadn't felt like effort before. It had felt like ease. Now it felt fragile. I stopped trying to correct the discomfort as quickly, not out of wisdom, but out of fatigue. The explanations were tiring. Holding them in place required attention I didn't always have. So I let some moments be unresolved. That was unsettling in a new way. Without the familiar framing, sensations felt raw, less organized. Emotions didn't pass as cleanly. Thoughts lingered without commentary. I didn't replace the belief with another. I didn't adopt a new understanding. I simply noticed the absence where certainty used to sit. It felt like standing in a room after the furniture has been removed, still expecting to bump into something. There were moments I wanted to go back, to reassert what I had known, to stabilize things again. The urge was strong and familiar. Sometimes I gave in, repeating old phrases internally, watching the mind settle temporarily. Other times, I didn't, and the discomfort stayed. Neither option felt particularly satisfying. I noticed that identity had loosened in an unexpected way. Not expanding, not dissolving, just becoming less defined. I couldn't point to what I was in the way I used to, even negatively. That absence wasn't peaceful. It was ambiguous. I sat with that ambiguity more often than I would have liked. Not because I chose to, but because there was nowhere else to go. No breakthrough arrived. No insight clarified things. Days passed in a muted, unsettled way, punctuated by ordinary tasks and persistent uncertainty. I began to see how much of my previous orientation had been about control, even if it had worn the mask of surrender. That recognition didn't feel like a revelation. It felt flat, almost obvious, and somehow still unresolved. I hesitated often internally, before responding, before interpreting, before deciding how to relate to what was happening. Hesitation became a constant companion. Life didn't pause for this. I still went to grocery store, still answered messages, still made plans and canceled them. The days looked the same from the outside, but inside, things felt less edited. I noticed small moments more acutely. The weight of a bag in my hand, the sound of someone clearing their throat, the way light shifted across a wall in the afternoon. There was no sense of meaning attached to these moments, just presence without commentary. Uncertainty stayed close. Sometimes it felt manageable. Other times, it felt like a low-level ache, a desire to land somewhere solid. The urge to return to certainty arose often. I recognize it now, not as a failure, but as a habit, a familiar reach. Sometimes I reached back. Sometimes I didn't. Neither choice resolved anything. In conversations, I found myself less sure what I was expressing. I paused more. I listened differently. There was less distance, but also less confidence. I didn't feel wiser. If anything, I felt more ordinary. There were moments when I missed the clarity I thought I had, the insulation, the sense of standing apart. But there were also moments, quiet and unremarkable, when the absence of that stance felt honest. I didn't conclude anything from those moments. I didn't frame them. I let them pass, unfinished. And life continued, unresolved, human, and quietly ongoing.